Happy Friday, 1905 Studios coming to you. Once again, I was with some people in Jackson the other day. Bless their heart. They were talking about being in Kosciuszko, and can you believe they actually made the comment that all roads lead to Kosciuszko? I couldn't help but chuckle inside. I didn't say anything. I kept my mouth quiet, and I was like, obviously she's not a Presbyterian, and hadn't been in Mississippi too long, because all roads lead to Yazoo City. And this is a reminder, and I want to read in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, beginning in verse 9. Now concerning brotherly love, you have no need for anyone to write to you, for you yourselves have been taught by God to love one another. For that is indeed what you are doing to all the brothers throughout Macedonia. But we urge you, brothers, to do this more and more. Now here's the part. And to aspire to live quietly, to mind your own affairs, and to work with your hands as we instructed you, so that you may live properly before outsiders and be dependent on no one. Live quietly and mind your own affairs and work with your hands. Just steady, boring faithfulness, day in and day out, week in and week out. We've been going through our history, and particularly as it centers around the Great Fire of 1904 in May 25th. Following that, the Yazoo Sentinel had a regular section in the paper, Rising from the Ashes. And step by step, all the way up to 6 months, 80 new buildings had been erected. That's not even counting the residential. That's just in the business section. That's not counting the new school. That's not even counting the churches that were in their construction. Some $750,000 outlaid in preparing and rebuilding the city. And in that section, it was just a list. This is what's happening. You know, who had a contractor, who has cleared what. And it was just step by step. First, there was all the clearing. Then it was all the planning. Then it was the city planning. They were widening the streets, going to have the electric cars, everything they were going to do to make everything bigger and better and to rise from the ashes. Nobody was quitting. All the way to the first store opening up, the Kennington Mercantile store. And all of those things are just happening just on a regular basis. All the familiar names. You're reading the names and you see the streets. It's all the same. And it was just people going about their business of the task that was before them right there on the next day, living quietly, working together, serving their community, serving their churches, serving God in all the different capacities, everybody together. And in the midst of that was Robert Kennington. He was born and was orphaned very young in Georgia. And at 11 years old, he began working with his uncles in their stores. And they moved from Georgia when he was 14 years old, and he came with them to establish the Kennington stores in Jackson and in Yazoo City. And at 17, he would become the manager of the Yazoo City store. And he showed his display of building and business leadership, and would become the famous Kennington department store as they build them up in the capital city in Jackson, of which his descendant would run and rule and become a significant leader in First Pres Jackson, as well as one of the founding men of Reformed Theological Seminary in Jackson, building our first chapel there in honor of his wife. And all of that is just lying back in just this simple reminder to us. We have today, seek first the kingdom. God has given us enough to concern ourselves with today. Do not be worrying ourselves about tomorrow. Seek first his kingdom. Live quietly. Pay our bills. Take care of our own business. Be faithful in the regular things. Because in the end, God is always working. And he's working through us being his people, faithful in all things, doing everything to his glory. Because we are centered on Christ in our lives, we can be driven by our love of God and our neighbor, so that we're faithful in the work of the church, being focused in its mission. And generations will continue step by step with the regular working of the Lord as he has designed, to his praise and to his glory. And so remember, no matter what your hand has been put to do today by God's design, he is working in ways that are eternal. Let us gather for worship this Lord's Day.